I never thought I'd be sharing a story like this. What started as a normal morning completely shattered my world. I picked up my husband's phone and saw a message from my best friend. One message that turned everything upside down. My name is Sarah, and this is how my life fell apart. I met my husband Jake when I was 21 and he was 23. We dated for almost 2 years before he proposed, and we've been married for 12 years now. We have 2 beautiful boys together. Early in our relationship, Jake introduced me to his mom, Linda. I really wanted her to like me. I tried so hard to make a good impression, but it was never mutual. Linda had been a widow for many years after her husband passed away from a heart attack. She raised Jake all by herself, so they were extremely close. Honestly, he was a bit of a mama's boy. He was always desperate for her approval. The main reason Linda never warmed up to me was because I came from a pretty comfortable middle-class family. My parents owned a couple of small businesses. They paid for my college and even bought me my first car so I could get to work. But they also raised me to be independent and work hard for what I wanted. I've always had a strong work ethic. After college, I never asked my parents for money again. I built my own career in social media marketing and influencer branding, and I was doing really well. Jake's life was completely different. His dad was in the military and barely around. After his dad died, it was just him and his mom. Linda struggled with alcohol, so from a young age, Jake had to take care of her. He started working at fast food places as a teenager, just to help with bills. He even dropped out of college because he hated his major. Later, he became a freelance writer and surprisingly made decent money doing it. He loved traveling and lived as a digital nomad for a few years before we met and he settled down. All that time, he was regularly sending money to his mom and buying her nice things, even when it hurt his own finances. When our relationship got serious, I finally told him about my family's financial situation. He didn't believe me at first, until he Googled my parents. He got really angry that I had hidden it for so long and accused me of not trusting him. I explained that in the past, some guys only wanted to be with me because of my family's money, so I learned to be careful. He said he understood, but every now and then he would make little comments like, "You've never had to struggle," or "You don't know what real hard work is." Those words hurt me deeply, because even with my parents' support, I had worked incredibly hard to build my career. That should have been my first red flag. When things got more serious and we decided to move in together, Jake immediately suggested moving into my place because I had a bigger apartment. I agreed, but when I brought up splitting the rent, he got upset. He said he wasn't making much as a freelance writer, and that since I came from a wealthy family, I should prove my love by covering most of the bills. I told him that didn't feel fair, but I was willing to pay the full rent if he at least covered his own personal expenses. That made him furious. He raised his voice and called me selfish, saying I was a horrible person for not wanting to support him. We argued for a long time, and eventually, I gave in. I started paying for almost everything so we could live together. I was so in love that I ignored how wrong it felt. Meanwhile, Jake kept sending money to his mom every month and buying her expensive gifts. Every time I pointed out that he had money for her but not for our bills, he would get angry and say his mother needed it more because she was a lonely older woman. I felt guilty and eventually stopped bringing it up. When Jake proposed, I was over the moon. Looking back now, I realize he put in almost zero effort. He proposed right in our backyard with my family and friends watching. My mom, who absolutely adored him, had even helped him plan it together with my best friend Kylie. Kylie had been my best friend since high school. Our moms were friends, so we basically grew up like sisters. We did everything together. She was the one person I trusted completely. When I started dating Jake, I introduced them. and they got along really well. She even helped him pick out the engagement ring. Even though the proposal was simple, seeing my whole family there made me happy. My mom and Kylie were the first ones to hug me and congratulate us. Linda, Jake's mom, told me she expected a lot from me as a daughter-in-law and hoped I would do everything possible to make her son happy. After we got married, I continued paying for almost all our expenses. I paid for our date nights, our vacations, everything. Jake always said he was saving for our future. I believed him. When I got pregnant with our first son, James, the pregnancy was really rough. I had to take time off work. Jake wasn't happy about it at all. He started arguing that I needed to keep working or we wouldn't have enough money for the baby. I cried so much during that time. I finally opened up to my parents. My dad got furious and called Jake, telling him he needed to start acting like a real man and take care of his family. He even warned Jake that if he kept treating me this way, we should just get a divorce. That scared Jake, especially because we had signed a prenup before the wedding, at my dad's insistence. For the first time, Jake stopped sending money to his mom and started helping with our bills. But Linda was furious that the money flow had stopped, and she blamed me for it. When James was born, I was overjoyed, but also completely exhausted. Jake barely helped at all. He said taking care of the baby was my responsibility as the mother. He wouldn't even change a diaper or feed him. My parents and Kylie's mom helped me a lot during that time. Linda would come over just to criticize me, saying I needed to lose weight or that I should calm the baby down faster. She never once criticized her own son. I was drowning in postpartum depression, but I didn't even realize what it was at the time. I felt so alone. The only person who really listened to me was Kylie. She would get angry on my behalf and say what a terrible husband and father Jake was. She was my biggest support. A year after James was born, I got pregnant again. It wasn't planned, and I was shocked. I wasn't ready for a second baby so soon, but I decided to trust that it was meant to be. Jake, on the other hand, completely lost it. He said we couldn't afford another child, and we got into a huge fight. That's when I knew I had to go back to work. I reached out to my old boss, and he was happy to bring me back on a freelance basis. The second pregnancy was also tough, but I pushed through because I had no choice. Once I started earning again, I made a decision. I wasn't going to put all my money into our joint account anymore. I needed to protect myself and my kids. So I started saving 50% of my paycheck and only putting the other half into our shared expenses. As soon as I began working again, Jake became even lazier. He suddenly started complaining that he hated his job and wanted to quit. I tried to talk him out of it, reminding him that he didn't have a degree and this job paid well. But he got defensive and said if I could take time off, then he deserved a break too. In the end, he quit anyway. He told me we had enough savings and that now that I was working, he could finally relax. He spent all day playing video games while I was taking care of our toddler, doing all the housework, and working from home. I was exhausted. One day, I finally snapped and demanded that he start looking for a new job. He didn't like that at all. Instead, he started spending more and more time at his friend Clinton's house. Clinton was divorced and hated women because his ex-wife had cheated on him. I never liked Jake hanging out with him, but he kept going there anyway, and our fights only got worse. I felt like a single mom. Jake was doing absolutely nothing to help, but I stayed for the kids. When it was time to give birth to our second son, Nick, Jake was nowhere to be found. I called and texted him over and over when labor started, but he never answered. Kylie didn't pick up either. In the end, my parents had to rush me to the hospital. Kylie showed up the next day and apologized, saying she had been stuck at work. I didn't think much of it at the time. After Nick was born, I finally put my foot down. I told Jake that if he didn't get a job, I was going to leave with the kids. We had a massive fight, but I meant every word. I told him I needed a real partner, not someone who just sat on the couch all day. To my surprise, he agreed. He said he would start looking for work the very next day. The next morning, while Jake was in the shower, I was picking up his dirty laundry to throw in the wash. That's when I heard a notification on his phone. I glanced at the locked screen and saw a message from an unknown number. My heart stopped. The message read, "When are you going to tell her? I'm pregnant, and I can't keep hiding this anymore." I stood there frozen, reading it again and again. When Jake came out of the shower, he saw me holding his phone. He rushed toward me trying to grab it, but it was too late. I dropped the laundry basket, walked up to him, and slapped him hard across the face. I was shaking with rage. He stood there in shock, stuttering, trying to say it was all a misunderstanding. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "For me, you're dead." Then I packed up the kids' things and mine and drove straight to my parents' house. When my parents opened the door and saw me standing there with both kids and suitcases, they were shocked. I completely broke down and told them everything through my tears. I couldn't stop crying for days. I just couldn't believe my life had fallen apart like this. My best friend of 20 years had slept with my husband, and now she was pregnant with his child. 12 years of marriage, gone. Jake and Kylie kept calling and texting me non-stop, begging me to at least hear them out. I refused to answer any of them. Jake kept saying I should think about the kids and not file for divorce. But for me, the marriage was already over. A few weeks later, I finally went back to work. I needed something to keep me from falling apart. Work became my escape. Many people in the comments guessed right. Jake and Kylie had been seeing each other for a long time. Kylie sent me a long message saying she never meant for this to happen, but she had fallen in love with Jake. Now that she was pregnant, she said she had to think about herself and the baby. Jake, on the other hand, was terrified of losing the comfortable life he had with me. He admitted he only wanted a one-time thing with Kylie, but now that she was pregnant, he was stuck. He even had the nerve to suggest that I convince Kylie to get rid of the baby so we could go back to being a family. That made me sick to my stomach. I later found out that while I was working and taking care of the kids, Jake had been complaining to Kylie behind my back. He told her how miserable he was being married to me because I was forcing him to get a job. His friend Clinton encouraged the whole thing, telling him that Kylie was a real woman, and I wasn't. The worst part? I'm almost certain that on the day I went into labor with Nick, they were together. That's why neither of them answered my calls. When I first told my parents what happened, my dad was furious. He called Jake and screamed at him for a solid 15 minutes. But my mom, my own mother, refused to believe it at first. She kept saying Kylie would never do something like that to me. I called Kylie's mom and told her everything. Unlike my mother, she believed me immediately. She was heartbroken and furious with her daughter. She even cried with me and said she was ashamed of Kylie. A little while later, my mom completely changed her attitude. Instead of supporting me, she started pressuring me to give Jake full custody of the kids. At first, I thought she was joking, but she kept repeating it over and over. I finally lost it and yelled at her, asking how she could even suggest something like that. She didn't say a word. She just walked out of the room. Her behavior made no sense to me. Why would my own mother want me to hand my children over to a man who couldn't even take care of them? I think it's time I sit down with both my parents and find out what's really going on in her head. A few days later, I finally sat down with both my parents to talk about my mom's strange behavior. I had already warned my dad that she was pushing me to give Jake full custody of the kids, so he was ready for the conversation. I looked my mom straight in the eyes and asked her why she wanted me to hand over my children to Jake. At first, she hesitated, but my dad kept pressing her. Finally, she started talking. What she told us left both me and my dad completely speechless. After I had told them about Jake's affair with Kylie, my mom didn't believe me at first, so she secretly met with Kylie behind my back. During that meeting, Kylie begged for forgiveness and admitted she was pregnant. Instead of being angry, my mom actually felt sorry for her. She promised Kylie financial help and tried to convince her not to destroy my marriage. She even suggested that Jake could support Kylie and the new baby while still staying married to me. When Kylie refused that idea, my mom changed her approach. She told Kylie that since she had ruined my marriage, she should now take responsibility for the children too. My mom convinced Kylie that I was suffering from severe postpartum depression and wasn't capable of being a good mother. She said it would be better for all the kids, including the new baby, to be raised together as siblings. She even told Kylie that if I gave up full custody, I would have to pay huge child support payments, and Kylie could use that money for her own child. That's why my mom had been pressuring me so hard to give Jake full custody. When my dad and I heard all of this, we were in total shock. I couldn't believe my own mother had betrayed me like that, especially when I was already at my lowest point. I started crying and asked her how she could do this to me after everything I had been through. My dad stayed quiet for a long moment. Then he simply told my mom to leave the house. She started crying and arguing, but he was firm. He said their marriage was over and he didn't want to see her anymore. That day, my mom moved out and went to live with her sister. I felt like everyone I loved had stabbed me in the back. First my husband, then my best friend, and now my own mother. I didn't know who I could trust anymore. Update. Начало финальной части. 6 months later, a lot has changed. I finally got my divorce last month. My dad was my rock through the entire process. Thanks to the prenup and the clear proof of Jake's cheating, he walked away with nothing. He didn't get the house, the car, or any significant money. When it came to custody, Jake first tried to ask for full custody, then switched to asking for 50-50. But my lawyer showed the court everything. How Jake had been an absent father for years, how he had no stable job, how his mother struggled with alcohol, and the fact that he had cheated and gotten another woman pregnant. The judge gave me full custody of both boys, and Jake was ordered to pay child support. Seeing the defeated look on his face in court was one of the most satisfying moments of my life. I glanced over and saw Linda staring at me with pure hatred. I just smiled back. As for my mom, she has been begging both me and my dad to forgive her. My dad refused to let it go easily. He told her she needs to go to therapy to understand why she has such deep issues with women and why she treated me so badly when I was most vulnerable. She is going to therapy now, but she's still living with her sister. I still talk to Kylie's mom. She completely cut Kylie out of her life. She even removed Kylie from her will and added me instead. It's bittersweet, but I'm grateful for her support. From what I've heard, Jake doesn't want to marry Kylie and doesn't want anything to do with their baby, exactly as I expected. Linda is furious because she lost access to my 2 sons, but Jake doesn't seem to care. As for me, I feel so much better now. I'm focused on raising my boys and moving forward with my life. This journey hasn't been easy, but I don't regret anything. I'm thankful I had those years with Jake because they gave me my 2 beautiful children. And I'm grateful the truth came out, because otherwise I might still be stuck in an unhappy marriage. I truly believe everything happens for a reason. I trust God's plan. That's the end of my story. So yeah, that's my story. From the outside, it looked like I had the perfect life. A nice house, 2 beautiful kids, and a husband I thought I could trust. But behind closed doors, I was carrying everything alone while being betrayed by the 2 people I loved most. If you're going through something similar right now, betrayal, heartbreak, or feeling completely lost, I want you to know you're not alone. It hurts like hell, but you can survive it. You can rebuild. And sometimes, the worst thing that ever happens to you becomes the thing that finally sets you free. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, please leave a comment and tell me, what would you have done in my situation? And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more real stories like this. Take care of yourselves, trust your gut, and never be afraid to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. Until next time, stay strong.